How you doing, everyone? Welcome back. Well, we just did that video about SNAP benefits and how they're set to not be paid out as of, well, just a few hours from now as I'm looking at my clock. It is October 31st, and it is, I'm in the Central Time Zone as I'm recording. It is about 20 minutes to 11 p.m. So, it's not going to be that much longer, and SNAP will not be paid out, right? And they like to use the excuse of the government shutdown. First of all, the government has been shut down before. But this will be the first time in the history of the SNAP program that benefits will not be paid out. Okay? The first time in the history of the program. So don't give me this, well, they can't pay it out because of the shutdown nonsense. You know, they do have emergency funds available that are actually allocated for that. Don't want to do it, right? But this is not so much about SNAP specifically, right? We have government employees who are not getting paid, right? You know, and that could be anything from your air traffic controllers down to some guy with a pencil behind a desk, you know, who, you know, some bean counter somewhere, right? And I don't know what that guy does, but I'm sure it's an important job, right? So they're not getting paid, right? Guess who is getting paid? Congress. Yeah, Congress. They make $174,000 a year each, except for, you know, like the Speaker of the House and the, you know, leadership positions make more. Okay. $174,000 is what a congressman makes, or a congresswoman. They get paid. But Joe behind the desk, or Sally out there at the airport, the air traffic controller, you know, she's not getting paid. Joe isn't getting paid. You know, I know they said they were going to put aside some money to make sure the military gets paid. I don't know. I've heard both that they are and that they're not. Not sure what the truth is on that. You know, the guy down at the VA, he's not getting paid. You think that might affect, you know, the care that veterans are getting? Yeah, probably. I mean, this is already the second longest government shutdown in American history. Second only to when Donald Trump shut the government down in late 2018 going into 2019. So, Trump has the two longest government shutdowns in history. And if you want to tell me it's not his fault, well, tell him. Tell him that it's not the president's fault, because he, back when there was a shutdown, when Obama was president, said it's the president's fault. It is always the president's fault, because he needs to be the one to bring both sides together. Well, this particular president has decided, no, I don't want to even talk to it. We're not only not going to negotiate with them, we're not even going to talk to them. Right? So somehow we don't have money to pay SNAP benefits. We don't have the money to pay government employees. We don't have the money to keep our parks open. But we have money to pay Congress. We've got $40 billion to bail out Argentina, which, by the way, brings up a whole other issue. Soybeans, right? China stopped buying soybeans from the United States. Why? Because of a stupid, unnecessary trade war that Trump started for no other reason than he can. As you know, if you've seen my videos, I've told you this before. I am from Iowa, right? Iowa is a major farming state. Soybeans are a major crop in this state. And I know we're known for corn, right? But we're also known for soybeans. You know, we've got corn and soybeans all over this state. We are one of the largest producers of soybeans. The Chinese are not buying American soybeans. Why? Because of Donald Trump. So guess what? Farmers, and I have farmers who live not too far from me. I know farmers. They're being hurt. A lot of them are going to have to declare bankruptcy. They may lose their farms. Meanwhile, we're sending $40 billion to Argentina, which, by the way, is where China is now buying their soybeans from. Oh, yeah, and our beef ranchers, right? Cattle ranchers, guess what? We have to import beef from Argentina because we can't sell our beef overseas. All because of stupid trade wars that didn't need to happen. Tariffs are not what Trump says they are. He actually throws additional tariffs on anything coming in from Canada because they cheated at a commercial, whatever the fuck that means. They ran a commercial of Ronald Reagan saying Ronald Reagan things that Ronald Reagan actually said, which, by the way, I'm going to look for that video and link it in the description below. When Ronald Reagan, Trump says, well, Reagan loved tariffs. No, he didn't. He was a free market capitalist. He was a free market capitalist. He hated tariffs, but he knew that sometimes they had to be used strategically. And in the video that I'm going to link, Reagan actually is explaining, it's from 1987, Reagan is explaining why he was imposing tariffs on Japanese semiconductors, just that one specific product from Japan. He explains why. You tell me when I post that video if Reagan loved tariffs. So we got to punish all of Canada because the Premier of Ontario, which would be effectively the governor of a state here, right? At least as I understand the Canadian systems, that would be the equivalent. If I know I have some Canadians who watch, let me know if that's not right. But as I understand, it's the equivalent of governor, right? The Premier of Ontario ran an ad during the World Series. And so you want to punish the whole country, right? Thing is, you're not hurting Canada nearly as much as you're hurting your own country, all because your feelings got hurt over Ronald Reagan saying Ronald Reagan things, and, well, it was AI or something. Reagan never said that. Yeah, he did. Like I said, I'll link the video in the description. But yeah, we've got money for this stupid ballroom project. We've got money for this stupid ballroom project that nobody wanted. Trump is the only one who actually wanted this project. He's talking about, well, they've wanted it for 150 years. And Okay, in principle, I'm not even opposed to a ballroom necessarily. But if you're going to just completely demolish the East Wing, get no approval from Congress, who, by the way, they're the ones who handle the money, and they have to have a say in things like this. Yeah, you demolish the East Wing to put up a structure that you said it wasn't even going to touch the structure of the White House, that it wasn't even going to, you weren't going to touch the East Wing, that it would be adjacent. Yeah. But you have money for your ballroom. By the way, contractors on that ballroom project, you're not getting paid. You know this already. You got money for that. We got money to send to Argentina. We got money to pay Congress. We have no money to send to 42 million Americans who need to eat. Which, by the way, little bit of a correction. Not really a total correction on my previous video, but a little bit of a correction, right? 12% of the American population, right? If we're at about 4% unemployment, right? That's pretty close to full employment, right? At 4%. So, 12%. First of all, yes, that means people who are working but not getting paid enough are receiving SNAP benefits. But we also need to factor in that senior citizens, a lot of them are receiving SNAP benefits, right? So you've got senior citizens, those who work low-paying jobs, and children. And don't give me this, if you can't feed them, don't breed them nonsense either, because people's circumstances change. People's circumstances change. So we can't afford to feed people. We can't afford to pay government employees. But we can afford a ballroom and to send money to Argentina. And we can afford to pay Congress. I'll tell you what. Congress, you should be the first ones to get your pay cut. You should be the first ones to have your pay halted for a government shutdown. And at least the government employees will get back pay eventually, whenever that happens. Congress, you shouldn't even get back pay for a government shutdown. Especially you, Mike Johnson. Especially you. Because you're complaining that the Democrats are nowhere to be found when you closed the House. You told all of the Republicans to go back to their districts. You told them to get the hell out of Dodge. So, and by the way, Mike Johnson, don't tell me that you're not in charge of the government when your party has the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Yeah, he actually said that Republicans are not in charge of the government. He actually said that. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike. If you're not in charge, step down and let somebody who can actually run the place take over. Anyway, I know I was kind of all over the place with that one. But, yeah, it kind of gets that way sometimes, doesn't it? I'll catch you all next time.